Right, let's start here. 37 people have appeared briefly in court today for allegedly instigating the 2021 July unrest. They face charges of conspiracy to commit violence, incitement to commit public violence, and incitement to commit arson. Our senior reporter, Dasen Thathiah, is following this court case. He joins us now live to give us more details. Dasen, short court appearance. What happened?
Very short, Maseko, and it always ever was going to be a postponement because this is a matter that is still very much under investigation. And I want to just break down those numbers for you so that we get a sense of exactly what's going on here. I know there have been lots of numbers that have been bandied around, 46 in total, arrests at some point up until today, and then we found out today 2 more. So let me just break this down. So as it stands, there have been at least 48 people that have been arrested in relation to those crimes that you mentioned in your intro, relating to the 2021 July unrest. Only 35 of those, that's the first batch, appeared today for their second appearance. The other 2 made their first appearance because their arrests were quite recent. Earlier this week, we saw that there were 10 others that were found in Gauteng. They also appeared separately. There was another person from the Western Cape that appeared here in this court. So those appearances and those people will join this group now on the 30th of November, and that's when they'll appear as a collective in this court, all facing the same charges. The bail that had been granted is 3,000 rand. That applies to almost all of them. There are 2 within that group that didn't have to pay bail. They were released on a warning because of special circumstances. So that's the intention here. According to the state in court today, Senior State Prosecutor Mayen Naidu said that there are still substantial investigations that need to be done in relation to this case. And that's understandable because if you look at how many accused there are here and what it is that they're dealing with, a lot of it has to do with the digital forensics, and they need to now ensure that they have a solid case before they proceed to the next stage of where this matter is.
And Dasen, you know, in terms of all those numbers and what's been happening in the past few weeks with these instigators, what's the NPA saying? Are they confident that after all of these arrests, that all of these people will actually face the might of the law?
Well, on their side, they say that they're certainly confident. I mean, this is why it took so long. So everyone we've been talking to, from the investigators to the NPA and everyone in between that's dealing with this massive investigation, says that just because there was silence from last year and up until this point, because we saw the initial arrests, and then we saw relative silence, and we saw this new batch of arrests popping up. But they say that they've been working behind the scenes, and they are confident in what's going to happen. Although the lawyers that I've been talking to, they say that this is just a farce and that the state had to act because there was an expectation that people needed to account for all of the violence and the destruction that we saw during that time. So on that side, on the side of the defense, they feel that many of these cases will fall apart, and that's what they are banking on as the matter proceeds.
Well, that would be very embarrassing for the National Prosecuting Authority. And Dasen, when you look at all these cases that you've covered in terms of all these instigators, can you give us their profiles? You know, one of them also linked, for instance, to the ANC Youth League in KZN. Can you give us more details about some of the people that we might be interested in?
Well, our team's been spending time doing exactly that, trying to find out more about who these people are. And I can tell you that it's not necessarily what you would expect, because you have an entire range of individuals that are among these. You have those with political affiliations, like we're talking about, is well known now. There are some that are affiliated to the ANC's Youth League. There's a policeman in the mix. I mean, just yesterday I was looking at the profiles of some of those that came from Gauteng. At some point, these were people that were employed by, for example, the Department of Health, others that were employed by SARS. I mean, these are at some point in their lives, these are the places where they were employed. And then on the other hand, you've got very young people, some that were, for example, still looking for jobs. So the dynamic here is very interesting about who is exactly in court. And I guess it also plays into what one of the instigators had told us, or the alleged instigators had told us when we spoke to her, saying that many people that were in that group were just a mixture of people from all parts of the country. Even if you look at the distance, Maseko, people sitting in Gauteng, for example, and the Western Cape that are now seen to have been inciting violence. So which means that the allegation then is that they were doing this remotely to ensure that these attacks were taking place in KZN.
And that's an indictment on our state security, isn't it? Well, senior reporter Dasen Thathiah speaking to us there from outside the Magistrates Court in Durban.